My name is Nathan R. Miles, and I'm the Artistic Director of New Antiquities Theater Company. I want to take a moment to thank our sponsors and our patrons for supporting us throughout the years and for helping to make this season possible. I also want to remind you that you can find more information about New Antiquities at newantiquities.org. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, so please be sure to follow and subscribe to stay up to date on all the latest news about our season. I want to welcome you to this exclusive streaming event, and I hope that you enjoy the show. Good evening, and welcome to our reading of Charles Dickens' classic novella, A Christmas Carol, as performed by the alumni, faculty, and former faculty of West Texas A&M University. I hope you enjoy our little ghost story. Marley was dead to begin with. There is no doubt whatever about that. Scrooge and he were partners for I don't know how many years. Scrooge was his sole executor, his sole administrator, his sole assign, his sole friend, and sole mourner. This must be distinctly understood, or nothing wonderful can come of the story I am going to relate. Scrooge never painted out old Marley's name. There it stood years afterwards above the warehouse door. Scrooge and Marley's.
Oh, but he was a tight-fisted hand at the grindstone, Scrooge. A squeezing, wrenching, grasping, scraping, clutching, covetous old sinner, hard and sharp as a flint, from which no steel had ever struck out generous fire. Secret and self-contained and solitary as an oyster. The cold within him froze his old features, nipped his pointed nose, shriveled his cheek, stiffened his gait, made his eyes red, his thin lips blue, and spoke out shrewdly in his grating voice.
Humbug!
Joy to the world, the Lord is come. Let earth receive her King. Let every heart prepare him room, and heaven and nature sing, and heaven and nature sing. Joy to the world, the Savior reigns. Let all their songs employ, while fields and floods, rocks, hills, and plains repeat the sounding joy. Repeat the sounding joy. Repeat the sounding joy. No more let sins and sorrows grow, nor thorns infest the ground. He comes to make his blessings flow. For as the curse is found, for as the curse is found, he rules the world with truth and grace, and makes the nations prove the glories of his righteousness, and wonders of his love, and wonders of his love.
Once upon a time, of all the good days in the year, on Christmas Eve, old Scrooge sat busy in his counting house. It was cold, bleak, biting weather. The city clocks had only just gone 3, but it was quite dark already. It had not been light all day, and the candles were flaring in the windows of the neighboring offices like ruddy smears upon the palpable brown air.
The door of Scrooge's counting house was open that he might keep his eye upon his clerk, who, in a dismal little cell beyond, a sort of tank, was copying letters.
A Merry Christmas, Uncle. God save you.
Bah, humbug.
Christmas, humbug. Uncle, you surely don't mean that.
I do. Merry Christmas. What reason have you to be merry? You're poor enough.
What right have you to be dismal? You're rich enough.
Ah, humbug.
Don't be cross, Uncle.
What else can I be when I live in such a world of fools as this? Merry Christmas. What's Christmas time to you but a time for paying bills without money? A time for finding yourself a year older but not an hour richer. If I could work my will, every idiot who goes about with Merry Christmas on his lips should be boiled with his own pudding and buried with a stake of holly through his heart.
Uncle!
Nephew, keep Christmas in your own way and let me keep it in mine.
But you don't keep it.
Let me leave it alone then. Much good it may do you, much good it has ever done you.
There are many things from which I might have derived good but never profited, Christmas among the rest. But I am sure I have always thought of Christmas time when it has come around, apart from the veneration due to its sacred name and origin, if anything belonging to it can be apart from that, as a good time, a kind, a forgiving, charitable, pleasant time. The only time I know of in the long calendar of the year when men and women seem by one consent to open their shut-up hearts freely and to think of people below them as if they really were fellow passengers to the grave and not another race of creatures bound on other journeys. And therefore, Uncle, though it has never put a scrap of gold or silver in my pocket, I believe that it has done me good and will do me good, and I say, God bless it.
Let me hear another sound out of you, Bob Cratchit, and you'll keep your Christmas by losing your situation. You're quite a powerful speaker, sir. I wonder you don't go into Parliament.
Don't be angry, Uncle. Come, dine with us tomorrow.
Good afternoon.
I want nothing from you. I ask nothing of you. Why cannot we be friends?
Good afternoon.
I am sorry with all my heart to find you so resolute. We have never had any quarrel to which I have been a party, but I have made the trial in homage to Christmas, and I'll keep my Christmas humor to the last. So, a Merry Christmas, Uncle.
Good afternoon.
And a Happy New Year.
Scrooge and Marley's, I believe. Have I the pleasure of addressing Mr. Scrooge or Mr. Marley?
Mr. Marley has been dead these 7 years. He died 7 years ago this very night.
I have no doubt his liberality is well represented by his surviving partner. At this festive season of the year, Mr. Scrooge, it is more than usually desirable that we should make some slight provisions for the poor and destitute, who suffer greatly at the present time. Many thousands are in want of common necessaries. Hundreds of thousands are in want of common comforts, sir.
Are there no prisons?
Plenty of prisons.
And the union workhouses, are they still in operation?
They are. Still, I wish I could say they were not.
The treadmill and the poor law are in full vigor, then?
Both very busy, sir.
I was afraid from what you said at first that something had occurred to stop them in their useful course. I'm very glad to hear it.
Under the impression that they scarcely furnish Christian cheer for the mind and body to the multitude, a few of us are endeavoring to raise a fund to buy the poor some meat and drink and means of warmth. We choose this time because it is a time of all others when want is keenly felt and abundance rejoices. What shall I put you down for?
Nothing.
You wish to be anonymous.
I wish to be left alone. Since you ask me what I wish, sir, that is my answer. I don't make myself merry at Christmas, and I can't afford to make idle people merry. I help to support the establishments I have mentioned. They cost enough, and those who are badly off must go there.
Many can't go there, and many would rather die.
If they would rather die, they had better do it and decrease the surplus population. Good afternoon, sir.
God rest ye merry gentlemen, let nothing you dismay. Remember Christ our Savior was born on Christmas Day to save us all from Satan's power when we were gone astray. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy, Oh,
No. Bob Cratchit, where are you? You'll want all day tomorrow, I suppose.
Quite convenient, sir.
It's not convenient and it's not fair. If I was to stop half a crown for it, you'd think yourself ill-used, I'll be bound. And yet, you don't think me ill-used when I pay a day's wages for no work.
It's only once a year, sir.
A poor excuse for picking a man's pocket every 25th of December. But I suppose you must have the whole day. Be here all the earlier the next morning.
Scrooge took his melancholy dinner in his usual melancholy tavern, and having read all the newspapers and beguiled the rest of the evening with his banker's book, went home to bed. He lived in chambers which had once belonged to his deceased partner. The yard was so dark that even Scrooge, who knew its every stone, was fain to grope with his hands. Now, it is a fact that there was nothing at all particular about the knocker on the door, except that it was very large. It is also a fact that Scrooge had seen it, night and morning, during his whole residence in that place. Let it also be borne in mind that Scrooge had not bestowed one thought on Marley since his last mention of his 7 years dead partner that afternoon. And then, let any man explain to me, if he can, how it happened that Scrooge, having his key in the lock of the door, saw in the knocker, without its undergoing any intermediate process of change, not a knocker, but Marley's face.
Marley's face. It was not angry or ferocious, but looked at Scrooge as Marley used to look, with ghostly spectacles turned up on its ghostly forehead. The hair was curiously stirred as if by breath or hot air. And though the eyes were wide open, they were perfectly motionless. As Scrooge looked fixedly at this phenomenon, it was a knocker again. And to say that he was not startled, or that his blood was not conscious of a terrible sensation to which it had been a stranger from infancy, that would be untrue. But he put his hand upon the key he had relinquished, turned it sturdily, walked in, and lighted his candle and closed the door with a bang.
Who are you? What do you want with me?
Much.
Who are you?
Ask me who I was.
Who were you then?
In life, I was your partner, Jacob Marley. You don't believe me?
I don't.
Why do you doubt your senses?
Because a little thing affects them. A slight disorder of the stomach makes them cheat. You may be an undigested bit of beef, a blot of mustard, a crumb of cheese, a fragment of an underdone potato. There's more of gravy than of grave about you, whatever you are.
Do you believe in me or not?
I do. I must. But why must spirits walk the earth, and why did they come to me?
It is required of every man that the spirit within him should walk abroad among his fellow men and travel far and wide. And if that spirit does not go forth in life, it is condemned to do so after death.
You are fettered. Tell me why.
I wear the chain I forged in life. I made it link by link and yard by yard. I girded it of my own free will, and of my own free will I wore it. Is this pattern strange to you? Or would you know the weight and length of the strong coil you bear yourself? It was full, as heavy, and as long as this. 7 Christmas Eves ago, you have labored on it since. It is a ponderous chain.
Tell me more, Jacob. Speak comfort to me, Jacob.
I have none to give. I cannot rest. I cannot stay. I cannot linger anywhere. My spirit never walked beyond our counting house, mark me. In life, my spirit never rode beyond the narrow limits of our money-changing hole. And weary journeys lie before me.
But you were always a good man of business, Jacob.
Business. Mankind was my business. The common welfare was my business. Charity, mercy, forbearance, and benevolence were all my business. Why did I walk through crowds of fellow beings with my eyes turned down and never raise them to that blessed star which led the wise men into that poor abode? Were there no poor homes to which his light would have conducted me? Hear me. My time is nearly gone. I am here tonight to warn you that you have yet a chance and hope of escaping my fate. A chance and hope of my procuring Ebenezer.
You were always a good friend to me.
You will be haunted by 3 spirits.
Is that the chance and the hope that you spoke of, Jacob?
It is.
I'd rather not.
Without their visits, you cannot hope to shun the path I tread. Expect the first tomorrow when the bell tolls 1.
Couldn't I take them all at once and then have it over with, Jacob?
Expect the second on the next night at the same hour, the third on the next night when the last stroke of 12 has ceased to vibrate. Look to see me no more, and look that for your own sake, you remember what has passed between us.
Humbug.
O come, Emmanuel, and ransom captive Israel, that mourns in lonely exile here, until the Son of God appear. Rejoice, rejoice, Emmanuel shall come to
Are you the spirit whose coming was foretold to me?
I am.
Who and what are you?
I am the ghost of Christmas past.
Long past?
No, your past. Rise and walk with me. Bear but a touch of my hand there, and you shall be upheld in more than this.
As the words were spoken, they passed through the wall and stood upon an open country road with fields on either hand. The city had entirely vanished. Not a vestige of it was to be seen. The darkness and the mist had vanished with it, for it was a clear, cold winter day with snow upon the ground. They walked along the road, Scrooge recognizing every gate and post and tree, until a little market town appeared in the distance, with its bridge, its church, and winding river. Some shaggy ponies now were seen trotting toward them with boys upon their backs who called to other boys in country gigs and carts driven by farmers. All these boys were in great spirits and shouted to each other until the broad fields were so full of merry music that the crisp air laughed to hear it.
These are but shadows of the things that have been. They have no consciousness to us. The school is not quite deserted. A solitary child, neglected by his friends, is left there still.
They went, the ghost and Scrooge, across the hall to a door at the back of the house, and it opened before them and disclosed a long, bare, melancholy room made bare still by the lines of plain-deal forms and desks. And at one of these, a lonely boy was reading near a feeble fire. And Scrooge sat upon a form and wept to see his poor forgotten self as he used to be.
Poor boy. Poor boy. I wish... No, it's too late now.
What is the matter?
Nothing. There was a boy singing a Christmas carol at my door last night. I should like to have given him something, that's all.
Let us see another Christmas.
I've come to bring you home, dear brother, to bring you home.
Home, little fan?
Yes, home for good and all, home forever and ever. Father is so much kinder than he used to be, that home's like heaven. He spoke so gently to me one dear night when I was going to bed that I was not afraid to ask him once more if you might come home. And he said, yes, you should, and sent me in a coach to bring you. And we're to be together all the Christmas long and have the merriest time in all the world.
You are quite the woman, little fan.
Always a delicate creature whom a breath might have withered. But she had a large heart. She died a woman and had, as I think, children.
One child.
True. Your nephew.
Yo-ho there, Ebenezer, Dick. My boys, no more work tonight. Christmas Eve, Dick. Christmas, Ebenezer.
Why, it's old Fezziwig. Bless his heart. Fezziwig, alive again.
Let's have the shutters up before a man can say Jack Robinson.
It was done in a minute. Every movable was packed off as if it were dismissed from public life forevermore. The floor was swept and watered, the lamps were trimmed, fuel was heaped upon the fire, and the warehouse was as snug and warm and dry and bright as a ballroom, as one would desire to see upon a winter's night. In they all came, one after another, some shyly, some boldly, some gracefully, some awkwardly, some pushing and some pulling. In they all came, anyhow and everyhow. There were more dances, and there were forfeits, and more dances, and there was cake, and there was a great piece of cold roast, and there was a piece of cold boiled, and there were mince pies, and plenty of beer.
So what does bell mean?
Bell means beautiful.
Well, it sure is appropriately named.
A small matter, to make these silly folks so full of gratitude.
Small? He had the power to render us happy or unhappy, to make our service light or burdensome, a pleasure or a toil. Say that his power lies in words and looks, in things so slight and insignificant that it is impossible to add and count them up. What then? The happiness he gave is quite as great as if it cost a fortune.
What is the matter?
Nothing. Nothing in particular. I should like to speak a word or two to my clerk, Bob Cratchit. That's all.
It matters little. To you, very little. Another idol has displaced me. And if it can cheer and comfort you in time to come, as I would have tried to do, I have no just cause to grieve.
What idol has displaced you?
A golden one. You fear the world too much. All your other hopes have merged into the hope of being beyond the chance of its sordid reproach. I have seen your nobler aspirations fall off one by one until the master passion gain engrosses you, have I not?
What then? Even if I have grown so much wiser, what then? I am not changed towards you.
Our contract is an old one. It was made when we were both poor and content to be so, until in good season we could improve our worldly fortune by our patient industry. You are changed. When it was made, you were another man.
I was a boy.
Your own feelings tell you that you were not what you are. I am. That which I promised happiness when we were one in heart is fraught with misery now that we are two. How often and how keenly I have thought of this, I will not say. It is enough that I have thought of it and can release you.
Have I ever sought release?
In words, no, never.
In what then?
In a changed nature, in an altered spirit, in another atmosphere of life, another hope as its great end, in everything that made my love of any worth or value in your sight. If this had never been between us, tell me, would you seek me out and try to win me now?
Spirit, remove me from this place.
I told you these were shadows of the things that have been, that they are what they are. Do not blame me.
Remove me. Haunt me no longer.
What child is this who lay to rest on Mary's lap sleeping, whom angels greet with anthems sweet, while shepherds watch are keeping? This is Christ the King, whom shepherds guard and angels sing. Haste, haste to bring him loud, the babe, the Son of Mary.
Hey, Scrooge! Come in and know me better, man. I am the ghost of Christmas present. Look upon me, for you have never seen the likes of me before.
Never.
You've never walked with any of the younger members of my family?
I don't think I have. Have you had many brothers, Spirit?
More than 1,800.
Spirit, conduct me where you will. I went forth last night on compulsion, and I learned a lesson which is working now. Tonight, if you have aught to teach me, let me profit by it.
Touch my robe.
Hark the herald angels sing, glory to the newborn King. Peace on earth and mercy mild, God and sinners reconciled. Joyful all ye nations rise, join the triumph of the skies. With angelic hosts proclaim, Christ is born in Bethlehem. Hark the herald angels sing, glory to the newborn King.
Scrooge did as he was told and held it fast. Holly, mistletoe, red berries, ivy, turkeys, geese, game, poultry, brawn, meat, pigs, sausages, oysters, pies, puddings, fruit, and punch all vanished instantly. So did the room, the fire, the ruddy glow, the hour of night, and they stood in the city streets on Christmas morning. But soon the steeples called good people all to church and chapel, and away they came, flocking through the streets in their best clothes and with their gayest faces.
Hail the heavenly Prince of Peace, hail the Son of Righteousness, light and life to all he brings, risen with healing in his wings. Mild he lays his glory by, born that we no more may die, born to raise us from the earth, born to give a second birth. Hark the herald angels sing, glory to the newborn King.
Spirit, I wonder you. Of all the beings in the many worlds about us, why should we desire to cramp these people's opportunities of innocent enjoyment? You would deprive them of their means of dining every seventh day, often the only day on which they can be said to dine at all.
There are some upon this earth of yours who claim to know us and do their deeds of passion, pride, ill will, hatred, envy, bigotry, and selfishness in our name, who are as strange to us and all our kith and kin as if they never lived. Remember that, and charge their doings on themselves, not us.
Scrooge promised that he would, and they went on, invisible as they had been before, into the suburbs of the town. And perhaps it was the pleasure the good spirit had in showing off this power of his, or else it was his own kind, generous, hearty nature, and his sympathy with all poor men, that led him straight to Scrooge's clerks.
What has ever got your precious father, then? And your brother Tiny Tim and Martha weren't as late last Christmas Day by half an hour.
Here's Martha, Mother.
Oh, why, bless your heart alive, my dear. How late you are. Well, never mind. So long as you are come, sit ye down before the fire, my dear, and have a warm. Lord bless ye.
No, there's Father coming, cried the two young Cratchits, who were everywhere at once. Hide, Martha, hide. So Martha hid herself, and in came little Bob, the father, with at least 3 feet of comforter exclusive of the fringe, hanging down before him, and his threadbare clothes darned up and brushed to look seasonable, and Tiny Tim upon his shoulder. Alas, for Tiny Tim, he bore a little crutch, and had his limbs supported by an iron frame.
Why, where's our Martha?
Oh, not coming.
Not coming? Not coming upon Christmas Day?
Martha didn't like to see him disappointed, if it were only in joke. So she came out prematurely from behind the closet door and ran into his arms, while the two young Cratchits hustled Tiny Tim and bore him off into the wash house that he might hear the pudding singing in the copper.
And how did little Tim behave?
As good as gold and better. Somehow he gets thoughtful sitting by himself so much and thinks the strangest things you've ever heard. He told me, coming home, that he hoped the people saw him in the church because he was a cripple and it might be pleasant to them to remember upon Christmas Day who made lame beggars walk and blind men see.
At last, the dishes were set on and grace was said. It was succeeded by a breathless pause as Mrs. Cratchit, looking slowly all along the carving knife, prepared to plunge it in the breast. But when she did, and when the long-expected gush of stuffing issued forth, one murmur of delight arose all around the board, and even Tiny Tim, excited by the two young Cratchits, beat on the table with the handle of his knife and feebly cried, "Hurrah!" At last the dinner was all done. The cloth was cleared, the hearth swept, and the fire made up. The compound and the jug were put upon the table, and a shovelful of chestnuts on the fire. Then all the Cratchit family drew round the hearth, and at Bob Cratchit's elbow stood the family display of glass, 2 tumblers, and a custard cup without a handle. These held the hot stuff from the jug, however, as well as golden goblets would have done, and Bob served it out with beaming looks, while the chestnuts on the fire sputtered and crackled noisily. Then Bob proposed.
A Merry Christmas to us all, my dears. God bless us.
God bless us, everyone.
Nathan, does Tiny Tim have a beard?
I'm sorry, what's up?
Is Tiny Tim a full-grown man?
Look, nobody wants to play Tiny Tim. What can I say?
Come on.
Oh.
I mean, did you even try, or did you find a homeless man on the street?
Well, let's just, come on, let's just do the show. All right, people are waiting.
Come on, Nathan, we taught you so much better than that.
And then Scrooge said...
Spirit, tell me if Tiny Tim will live.
I see a vacant seat in the poor chimney corner, and a crutch without an owner, carefully preserved. If these shadows go unaltered by the future, the child will die.
Oh, no, Spirit, no. Say he will be spared.
If these shadows remain unaltered by the future, none of my race will be able to find him here. What then? If he be like to die, he best do it, and decrease the surplus population.
Mr. Scrooge, I give you Mr. Scrooge, the founder of the feast.
Oh, the founder of the feast, indeed. I wish I had him here. I'd give him a piece of my mind to feast upon, and I hope he'd have a good appetite for it.
My dear, the children, Christmas Day.
It should be Christmas Day, I am sure, on which one drinks the health of such an odious, stingy, hard, unfeeling man as Mr. Scrooge. You know he is, Robert. Nobody knows it better than you do, poor fellow.
My dear, Christmas Day.
I'll drink his health for your sake and the day's, not for his. Long life to him, and Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. He'll be very merry and very happy, I have no doubt.
By this time it was getting dark and snowing pretty heavily. And as Scrooge and the spirit went along the streets, the brightness of the roaring fires in kitchens, parlors, and all sorts of rooms was wonderful.
Noche de paz, noche de amor, todo duermen derredor, entre sus astros que esparcen su luz, ve anunciando al niñito Jesús, brilla la estrella de paz, brilla la estrella de paz.
A light shone from the window of a hut, and swiftly they advanced towards it. Passing through the wall of mud and stone, they found a cheerful company assembled around a glowing fire. An old man and woman, with their children and their children's children, and another generation beyond that, all decked out gaily in their holiday attire. The old man, in a voice that seldom rose above the howling of the wind, upon the barren waste was singing them a Christmas song. It had been a very old song when he was a boy, and from time to time they all joined in the chorus. So surely as they raised their voices, the old man got quite blithe and loud, and so surely as they stopped, his vigor sank again.
Astro del ciel, parvo divin, mit Anielo Redentor, tu che vati da lungi sognar, tu che angeliche voci annunziar, luce d'ogni mente, pace infondi nei cuori.
Built upon a dismal reef of sunken rocks, some league or so from shore, on which the waters chafed and dashed the wild year through, there stood a solitary lighthouse. But even here, two men who watched the light, had made a fire, that through the loophole in the thick of stone wall shed out a ray of brightness on the awful sea. They wished each other Merry Christmas in their can of grog, and one of them, the elder two, with his face all damaged and scarred with hard weather, as the figurehead of an old ship might be, struck up a sturdy song that was like a gale in itself.
Douce nuit, sainte nuit, dans les cieux, l'astre luit, le mystère annoncé s'accomplit. Cet enfant se l'a pas endormi, c'est l'amour infini, c'est l'amour infini.
It was a long night, if it were only a night. But Scrooge had his doubts of this, because the Christmas holidays appeared to be condensed into the space of time they passed together.
Are spirits' lives so short?
My time on this globe is very brief. It ends tonight. Tonight at midnight. Hark! The time is drawing near.
Forgive me if I am not justified in what I ask, but I see something strange and not belonging to yourself protruding from your skirts. Is it a foot or a claw?
It might be a claw for the flesh there is upon it. Look here.
From the foldings of its robe, it brought two children, wretched, abject, frightful, hideous, miserable. They knelt down at its feet and clung upon the outside of its garment.
Spirit, are they yours?
They are man's. This boy is ignorance. This girl is want. Beware them both and all of their degree.
Have they no resource or refuge?
Are there no prisons, no workhouses?
No. I was afraid from what you said at first that something had occurred to stop them in their useful course. I'm very glad to hear it.
Scrooge looked about him for the ghost and saw it not. As the last stroke ceased to vibrate, he remembered the prediction of old Jacob Marley, and lifting up his eyes, beheld a solemn phantom, draped and hooded, coming like a mist along the ground towards him.
I am in the presence of the ghost that's yet to come. You are about to show me shadows of the things that have not happened, but will happen. in the time before us. Is that so, Spirit? Ghost of the future, I fear you more than any other specter I have seen. But as I know your purpose is to do me good, and as I hope to live to be another man from what I was, I am prepared to bear your company. And do it with a thankful heart. Will you not speak to me? Lead on. Lead on. The night is waning fast, and it is precious time to me, I know. Lead on, Spirit.
No, I don't know much about it either way. I only know he's dead.
When did he die?
Last night, I believe.
I thought he'd never die. What's he done with his money?
He hasn't left it to me, that's all I know.
It's likely to be a very cheap funeral, for upon my life, I don't know of anybody to go to it.
I don't mind going if lunch is provided.
Well, I'm the most disinterested among you, after all. For I never wear black gloves, and I never eat my lunch. But I'll offer to go if anybody else will.
Now, come to think of it, I might be his most particular friend, for we did stop and speak whenever we met.
Well, let the charwoman alone to be the first. Let the laundress alone to be the second. Well, come, into the parlor. Well, stop till I shut the door of the shop. Oh, shrieks. Well, there ain't such a rusty bit of metal in the place as its own hinges, I believe, and I'm sure there's no such old bones as here as mine. Well, we're all suitable to our calling. We're well matched. Come, into the parlor. Well, what odds then? What odds then, Mrs. Dilver? Every person has a right to take care of themselves. He always did.
That's true indeed. No man ever more so.
Why then, don't stand staring as if you was afraid, woman. Who's the wiser? We're not going to pick holes in each other's coats, I suppose.
No, indeed. We should hope not.
Very well, then. That's enough. Who's the worse for the loss of a few things like these? The dead man, I suppose.
No, indeed.
He wanted to keep them after he was dead, a wicked old Scrooge. Why wasn't he natural in his lifetime? He had been. He'd had somebody to look after him when he was struck with death, instead of gasping out his last breath alone by himself.
Oh, that's the truest word that was ever spoke. It's a judgment on him. Now, open that bundle, old Joe. Let me know the value of it.
Bed curtains.
Bed curtains.
You don't mean to say you took them down, rings and all, with him lying there?
Yes, I do. Why not?
Is blankets.
Who else's do you think? He isn't likely to take cold without them, I dare say.
I hope he didn't die of anything catching.
No.
Eh?
Don't you be afraid of that. You may look through that shirt till your eyes ache. You won't find a hole in it, nor a threadbare place. It's the best he had, and a fine one, too. And they're wasted if it hadn't been for me.
What do you call wasting of it?
Oh, putting it on them to be buried in, to be sure. Somebody is fool enough to do it, but I took it off again.
I see. The case of this unhappy man might be my own. My life tends that way now. Merciful heavens. What is this?
He recoiled in terror, for the scene had changed, and now he almost touched a bed, a bare, uncurtained bed, on which beneath a ragged sheet there lay a something covered up, which, though it was dumb, announced itself in awful language.
Spirit, this is a fearful place. In leaving it, I shall not leave its lesson. Trust me. Let us go. Oh, Spirit, I understand you, and I would do it if I could, but I have not the power, Spirit. I have not power. Tell me, if there is any person in the town who feels emotion caused by this man's death, show that person to me, Spirit. I beseech you.
You went today then, Robert?
Yes, my dear. I wish you could have gone. It would have done you good to see how green a place it is. But you'll see it often. I promised him that I would walk there on a Sunday. My little child. My little child.
Spectre, something informs me that the parting moment is at hand. I know it, but I know not how. Tell me what man that was we saw lying there.
The ghost of Christmas yet to come conveyed him, as before a churchyard. Here then, the wretched man whose name he had now to learn lay underneath the ground. The spirit stood among the graves and pointed down to one.
Before I draw nearer to that stone to which you point, answer me one question. Are these the shadows of the things that will be? Or are they the shadows of the things that may be only?
Still the ghost pointed downward to the grave by which it stood. Scrooge crept towards it, trembling as he went. And following the finger, read upon the stone of the neglected grave his own name, Ebenezer Scrooge.
No, Spirit. No, Spirit. Hear me. I am not the man I was. I will not be that man, but for this intercourse. Why show me this if I am past all hope? Assure me that I yet may change these shadows you have shown me by an altered life. I will honor Christmas in my heart and try to keep it all the year. I will live in the past, the present, and the future. The spirits of all three shall strive within me. I will not shut out the lessons that they teach. Oh, tell me I may sponge away the writing on this stone. I will live in the past, the present, and the future. The spirits of all three shall strive within me. I don't know what to do. I'm as light as a feather. I'm as happy as an angel. I'm as merry as a schoolboy. I'm as giddy as a drunken man. Merry Christmas to everyone. To the whole world, Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. It's Christmas Day. I haven't missed it. The spirits did it all in one night. They can do anything they want. Of course they can. Of course they can.
He dressed himself all in his best and at last got out into the streets. The people were by this time pouring forth as he had seen them with the ghost of Christmas present. and walking with his hands behind him, Scrooge regarded every one with a delighted smile. He looked so irresistibly pleasant, in a word, that 3 or 4 good-humored fellows said, "Good morning, sir," and "A Merry Christmas to you." And Scrooge said often afterwards that of all the blithe sounds he had ever heard, those were the blithest in his ears.
My dear sir, how do you do? I hope you succeeded yesterday. It was very kind of you, and a Merry Christmas to you, good sir.
Mr. Scrooge?
Yes, that is my name, and I fear it is a name that is not very pleasant to you. Allow me to ask your pardon, and if you will have the goodness to please do the following.
Here, Scrooge whispered in his ear,
Lord bless me, my dear Scrooge, are you serious?
If you please, and not a farthing less, and a great many back payments are included in that promise too, I assure you.
Thank you, Mr. Scrooge.
He went to church and walked about the streets and watched the people hurrying to and fro and patted children on the head and questioned beggars and looked down into the kitchens of houses and up to the windows and found that everything could yield him pleasure. In the afternoon, he turned his steps towards his nephew's house. He passed the door a dozen times before he had the courage to go up and knock, but he made a dash and did it.
Fred!
Bless my soul, who's that?
It's I, your Uncle Scrooge. I have come to dinner. May I come in, Fred?
Let him in. It was a mercy he didn't shake his arm off. He was at home in 5 minutes. Nothing could be heartier. Wonderful party, wonderful games, wonderful unanimity, wonderful happiness. But he was early at the office the next morning. Oh, he was early there. If he could only be there first and catch Bob Cratchit coming late. That was the thing he had set his heart upon. And he did it. Yes, he did. The clock struck 9. No Bob. A quarter past. No Bob. He was full 18 minutes and a half behind his time. Scrooge sat with his door wide open that he might see him come into the tank. His hat was off before he opened the door, his comforter too. He was on his stool in a jiffy, driving away with his pen as if he were trying to overtake 9 o'clock.
Well, there you are, Bob Cratchit. What do you mean coming here at this time of day?
I am very sorry, sir. I'm behind my time.
You are? Yes, I think you are. Step this way, sir, if you please.
It's only once a year, sir. It shall not be repeated. I was making rather merry yesterday, sir.
Now I'll tell you what, my friend. I'm not going to stand for this sort of thing any longer. Therefore, I'm about to raise your salary. Oh, Merry Christmas, Bob. A merrier Christmas, Bob, my good fellow, than I have given you in many a year. I'll raise your salary and endeavor to assist your struggling family. And we will discuss your affairs this very afternoon over a Christmas bowl of smoking bishop. Now, make up the fires and buy another coal scuttle before you dot another I, Bob Cratchit.
Scrooge was better than his word. He did it all and infinitely more. And to Tiny Tim, who did not die, he was a second father. He became as good a friend, as good a master, and as good a man as the good old city knew, or any other good old city, town, or borough in the good old world.
And it was always said of him that he knew how to keep Christmas well. If any man alive possessed the knowledge, may that be truly said of us and of all of us. And so, as Tiny Tim observed,
God bless us, everyone.
No. God bless us, everyone.
God bless the merry and God bless the meek. God bless the week. God bless us, everyone.
God bless us, everyone.
God bless the rich man and God bless the poor. God bless whatever life sows. God bless the lonely and God bless the pure. God bless us, everyone.
God bless us, everyone.
High in the heavens, the snowflakes are falling. It falls on us all just the same. When the cold wind blows and it calls out your name. God bless us, everyone.
God bless us, everyone.
No matter your station, no matter your class, no matter your nation or creed. When the cold wind blows, it don't matter what you speak. God bless us, everyone.
God bless us,
God bless
everyone.
us,
Merry Christmas.
everyone.
Happy New Year.
And God bless us, everyone.
Should old acquaintance be